yes, follow your passion, but if there's no demand for that passion in society, you're going to get frustrated because you can't teach it back to yourself. You can say, Nikki, I need you to acquire this skill, but attitude is not a skill. Technology does destroy jobs, and it destroys those jobs that are do repetitive, mundane, administrative tasks.
Awesome. It's great to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you for such a long time. And
I appreciate that.
You finally being here. Oof, let me breathe.
It's okay.
So it's, you know, when it comes to the future of work, you are one of the people that I've listened to, and the conversations that you've had around the topic are quite fascinating. And I love the conversation. I love your perspective around the future of work and the skills needed, something that is not quite common with many people. So you have a different take on how you look at this. And I'm excited to talk to you about that regarding the future of work. But before we dive deep into it, if you can introduce yourself quickly to our audience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sthembiso Phakathi. I work at Deloitte as a director. I work in the people practice or the human capital practice within the organizational transformation. My line of work is organizational design, strategic change, culture, and leadership transformation. I'm passionate about people.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. He is passionate about people. That much I can guarantee. And he's very humble with his introduction. So let me not let all the cats out of the bag. He's much more than what he has just introduced himself to be. But let's get into it. You know, when it comes to the future of work, some people don't even understand what that entails. What can you say to them?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, really. It's not, we call it a future of work, but it's a mindset because, you know, there's so many disruptors and disruptions around us. And we always ask our clients and the people that I work with, how are you preparing yourself to be always relevant in terms of what you do for society, for yourself personally, and for the industry in which you work. So future of work for me is about adjusting and adopting as the world evolves and making sure that you're sharpening your skill set based on what's in demand. Because I always say to my clients, there's nothing guaranteed that what you do today is always going to be in demand tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So you need to continue to reskill and update your knowledge on an ongoing basis because learning is an ongoing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, speaking of adjusting, some people don't know how to do that. Like, okay, I need to adjust. I need to upscale. What do I do? There's still those people that I feel like, well, I can hear what you're saying, but practically, how do I go about this? What is your advice around that?
Nikki, there are various ways to do it. I just think there are formal ways to do it and informal ways to do it. I think formal way to do it is obviously, you know, enroll on a course.
Right.
You know, take up a formal course for a specific skill. But there's also informal ways, like working with someone that already is in the industry and job shadowing, volunteering, and also having a mentor, a coach, or an advisor, and just doing work practically that resonates with what you want to do, and finding ways to find those people that can support you to gain a skill. And also informally, there's so much that you can learn online using online platforms, YouTube, and other sources, depending on what skill you wanna learn. And sometimes you do a combination of both formal and informal. Most of my skills that I've acquired over many years, it's not something that I went to school for. It's something that I learned along the way, and by just spending time with the people that do what I want to do. And I just keep learning from them.
That's great. That's such great advice, so that no one can sit out there and say, well, because some people know only the formal way, right? So if the organization is sponsoring them to go to school and they don't have the finances themselves to go back to school, then they just hold their hands and sit back and say, well, I don't have any means of doing this. But I'm glad that you're pointing different ways that this can be done, you know, informally, where you are learning through people, in interaction with people. Like when I interact with you, there's so much I get to learn.
And vice versa.
I always tell people that they think I'm smart, no, but the strategy is actually that I hang around a lot of smart people.
Everybody, you do that. I also learn a lot from them.
Being able to network and build relationships with people that are in the industry you learn that way.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned YouTube. I call YouTube the university.
Yeah,
itself,
I remember you told me that. Yeah.
So the YouTube university. So there's so much on YouTube that a lot of people are not consuming.
Yeah.
There are times I go on YouTube and I cannot believe, for the life of me, I can't believe this is free. Like what I'm watching, like
it's
it
just
is
so much.
Exactly. It's
so much knowledge there. Yeah.
So knowledgeable, so impactful. And I'm like, how on earth is this even free?
Yeah. It's
so
amazing. We live in the interesting times.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for people who have the mindset of continuous learning, I think that they will always find avenues to learn per se. But then for those who have some sort of, there's a difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, right? That type of fixed mindset is the one that has only one aspect of looking at things. And I think it's dangerous to have a fixed mindset for the world in which we are living today.
Absolutely. It's very limiting. Yeah. Because I always say to my students at WITS and at GIBS that by the time you finish your degree, I can guarantee you that some of what you're learning now is going to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
And you need to find a way to augment that formal learning with something, the skill that you can find outside of the formal process.
Right.
Because you're going to find opportunities to apply that skill now. You don't have to wait for 3-4 years to finish a degree to apply a skill. So while you're pursuing a formal route to learning, there are other opportunities out there that you can tag on and leverage as part of your learning your learning process. Because lifelong learning doesn't end.
It doesn't end.
You have to always find ways to learn something new.
Back in the day, I think people could survive by maybe graduating from school and closing their books and throwing them somewhere and say, okay, now I'm a graduate, I'm done. And maybe in the days of our parents, that could work, but definitely not now. Because in the past, a 4-year degree could take you through your entire life. Yeah. And you didn't need to go back.
Yeah.
But that era is over, right?
Yeah. That is true.
So for those who's still hanging on their degree, right? I remember giving a talk and I gave an example of letting your degree hold you hostage. Yeah. So for those who are still holding on to a degree, maybe it's from even 20 years ago, and like, no, I have this degree from this prestigious university or whatever, and they haven't added anything to that. Yeah. What do you say to people like that?
Yeah. I always say to people that the concept of learning is very dynamic,
right?
And the world is changing so rapidly today that within a flip of a finger, as we speak now, so much is busy changing. Right. And I spoke earlier about adjusting and continuing to make yourself relevant.
Right.
So if you're stuck in a formal process of acquiring a degree, so much is changing while you're at it. And by the way, some of the degrees we do now are based on the books that were written yesteryears and decades ago.
Yes.
And those books were only published decades ago, but the research and the content may have been curated even another decade prior. So think about that process. Right. So you're learning now about something and knowledge that may have been curated or unlocked 15 to 20 years ago. Right. And think about that. And the world is moving at a very, very fast pace. So there's nothing wrong with going to school, because I believe that we do need those accolades to back up our ability to learn and acquire new information. Right. But we need to find other ways to be relevant now. And we talk about the future of work because no one really knows about what the future of work is going to look like 20, 30 years from now. Right. What we do know is that it's going to be different.
Right.
And find just like you update your phone.
Right.
Find a way to continually update your software in such a way that you always imagine if you didn't update your phone for like 2 years. And it would become slow. Yeah. It wouldn't perform certain things.
To hackers.
Exactly. It would be open to hackers, all kinds of vulnerabilities. Same with our brains. Right. You just have to find a way to. It's like a tool that sits in your garage and never works. Right. It gets rusty. It eventually gets irrelevant, and you have to go somewhere else to buy another one. So I tell my students and the people that I coach and mentor that find a way to acquire a skill that you're going to apply now and continue to sharpen that skill, because the demands and the type of work that the society, the business demands it keeps changing all the time.
Absolutely.
And for you to be relevant, you have to find ways to just keep adapting and adopting new ways of doing things all the time.
You know, I love that. Speaking of degrees, in your opinion, how relevant are degrees for the times we're living now and going into the future?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I do know that I got 2 master's degrees and I did them long time ago, and they're very relevant today.
Okay.
I use a fraction of that knowledge today. If it wasn't for the knowledge that I've acquired by doing stuff and by expanding my networks, by creating connections, post those degrees, I would be stuck. I would have a fixed mindset where I'm just thinking, why did I do these degrees? Because I don't see how I can showcase those skills. But what I did do, though, is continue to find ways to sharpen those skills and acquire new skills. They're not totally irrelevant. There is knowledge from that information that I can use today. But if I stuck only with it, I'll be falling behind. I'll be playing catch up all the time. So I made it my job to find other things to do beyond those formal qualifications. And again, experience is the best teacher, as you know. So just by connecting with businesses, working with other business leaders, doing work with clients, I learn all the time, and the road never ends.
That's interesting. And, you know, speaking of, let me highlight something you said. They're not totally irrelevant. Does it mean that there is a degree of irrelevancy when it comes to the degrees?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I teach a lot of my students on HRM, human resource management, innovation, strategic management, as well as performance management. Some of the methods, the literature that we're using, that we're using talks about, and when we go to the workplace, it's something that is north and south. So if you can't find ways to understand those basics, because the research content used in those studies is sometimes dated. So I like to augment that literature with journal articles that are fresh, that are current, to try and see practically how that content can be best utilized in industry, in real life. So what I do recommend is that even if you do have a degree, continue to read content that's current to augment that knowledge. Just to understand that the basics might be there, but continue to find articles, current books, journal articles, publications that are current or recent to see how the world has moved. Because as you know, you're a publisher yourself. By the time you publish, so much else has moved.
So much has changed.
And to augment that information with current information always helps. And then you stay current in that way.
Between a degree and having short courses, maybe 3 months or 6 months short courses, what would you advise people to go for? To go for a 3 or 4 year degree, or to do short courses?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the career. I would imagine short courses are very, very important, regardless. I mean, for instance, if you want to be a researcher, you want to go for PhD, and then continue to research. And postdoctoral research is very important because, and again, to my earlier point, you stay current. But short courses also give you skills that you can apply now. So what's nice about it, obviously, I would imagine they're not as expensive as a 4 to 7 year degree. So short courses or taking online courses, and most online courses are not that expensive. And again, as you accumulate that knowledge, you're accumulating a skill that you can apply now. Obviously, I would encourage anyone to take a course whose skills you have no idea where to apply and when to apply. So, and again, it has to be a supply and demand thing. You need to find, of course, follow your passion, but ask yourself, by acquiring these skills, can I utilize them right now? Are they in demand now? It would be stupid to take a course whose skills are not in demand, because they're going to get rusty. If you can't apply the skill or apply the knowledge, it's going to get rusty and you're going to get frustrated. So I just think it's beyond common sense to think, okay, yes, this is my line of work, this is my purpose, this is my passion, but is it in demand out there? And second thing, is there someone who's willing to pay for it? Because if you can earn a living doing what you love and using your skills, why not? So I always say to people that I mentor, yes, follow your passion, but if there's no demand for that passion in society, you're going to get frustrated because you can't teach it back to yourself. You have to find a place that demands that skill in society, in business, in communities, in families, whatever it may be. If you acquire a skill that is going to stay in a shelf, you're probably doing a disservice to yourself and to the community. So think about two things. I want to follow my passion, but is this something that the society demands? And is there someone out there that's willing to pay for it? And a combination of those things is going to make you very happy.
I think that speaks to the aspect of being curious, curiosity. Because without curiosity, someone may not even be able to ask those questions to begin with. Right? They will just go and do whatever they need to do. But the ability to wonder and question things and I mentioned before to someone that I think curiosity should have been one of the top skills according to the World Economic Forum. But they did mention, like creativity, innovation, and things like that. I'm like, why is curiosity missing from here? It's such a big deal. Even common sense should be on that list, I think.
Absolutely. Because it's a lot of people use it. Not a lot of people use it.
No, they don't.
Absolutely.
And so when it comes to curiosity, just that ability to wonder and ask questions, okay, where's the world going? Because this is the way I look at it. That ability to ask, how is technology changing my industry? Because there are times that I've given talks somewhere and someone will be like, but Nikki, this is so broad. Where do we start from? I'm like, start where you are. Start asking questions.
Start within your immediate sphere of influence.
And maybe you're in healthcare. Ask yourself, which technologies are disrupting the healthcare industry, and what new skills do I need to be able to stay relevant, in my field? Or maybe you're in finance. Ask yourself which technologies are driving change within the finance industry. That is how you grow from there. But until you're able to sit down and ask yourself these questions, you'll probably never be able to take the next step. I tell people also when it comes to my story, when I lost my job, when I got retrenched, and I had to find out, ask the question, what is driving retrenchment at the rate in which it's driving retrenchment, right? That question alone and that curiosity drove me down the path in which I am today, basically, because from asking that question, what drives retrenchment and how do organizations continue to thrive when they let go so many people? It was something that my mind could not understand at the time. But as I throw myself on the internet and started reading on these things, researching on these things. For the first time, that was when I realized, the processes that used to be done by humans, now when they kick them out or when they kick us out, they are replaced by softwares now. Humans are being replaced by machines. Humans are being replaced by software. All right. And each time I look back in my life, had I not asked that question, I probably would not even be here. And I would not have known what next step to do. I never would have published a book. I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast, right? Because everything just evolved into that. So the ability to be curious and ask certain questions. At the time, all I wanted to do was satisfy my curiosity. I didn't even think I'll be talking to anyone about this stuff. But I wanted to know, how do organizations continue to thrive? When so many people are kicked out. So curiosity for me is such a skill that people should learn to have. Question things. Remember the conversation we had the other day? I was like, I'm that person. I don't take things at face value.
You should question everything.
Question things because that ability can lead you somewhere, even at the job. Maybe you've been at a particular job. It also
creates an opportunity to have an open mindset.
Absolutely.
Because I always just think that what you already know isn't going to propel you forward. I think most organizations that are successful do two things, exploration and experimentation. Because from those two things, then you can move to a point where you begin to innovate and think creatively about what's possible. When you allow people to experiment and try new things and to explore and to go outside of the traditional conventional ways of doing things, you allow them to think broadly outside of the box and think creatively about what's possible. In all industries, you'll find that people that allow themselves to experiment and new ways of doing things, to discover new possibilities are the ones that thrive. Same with organization.
Absolutely.
So when you put individuals into boxes and say, your job only requires you to shift this box to here and do only that. And by the way, it wants you to shift it like this.
Right.
And then it wants you to shift it from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. and then once you live your life based on instruction, based on protocol, based on hierarchies, based on following instructions, you stagnate very quickly. In my personal life, I found that I break rules all the time because I always find new things of doing things. As long as there is efficiency and there are possibilities to do things better, faster, I will exploit. Sometimes I do it wrong. Sometimes I find bad ways of doing things, but 8 out of 10 times I find better ways of doing things.
That's
by
really
just allowing myself and giving myself permission to experiment and do things outside of the instructions and outside of the conventional ways. And most time, the instructions that you follow are dated themselves. And they applied in the circumstances that were there 15, 20 years. And I spoke to you about the EVP or employee value proposition the other day, that it's a moving goalpost.
Absolutely.
Because employee needs, demands and expectations change all the time.
Absolutely.
You have to ask yourself, the employees of yesterday may have wanted a big oval office in the corner on the 5th floor. Today's employees want autonomy, want flexibility, and want choice. And they just say, give me the tools to do my work and give me clear goals, clear milestones, clear deadlines, and leave me to it. And if I get stuck, I'll find you. And that is the autonomy that most people are looking for. And again, back to the thing to say, if you want to promote creativity and innovation and open-mindedness in your company, allow people to explore, allow people to experiment, and allow people to create. I like what you told me today, last week, and you said, don't consume content, create, curate, and orchestrate. So when you allow yourself to do that, you're basically giving yourself permission to experiment. And when you do experiment, you find so many things that are possible. And that you may never have thought of.
That's so powerful. Wow, that's really profound. You said, you know, what you know in the past cannot propel you forward. And it reminded me of the conversation that we still had when I think we're talking in regards to resumes.
Resume, CVs,
So where organizations are still so much focused on what this person has done in the past. And I think that is not just organizations. I think that even the individuals themselves, they are betting their future based on what they've done in the past, But the world is changing so fast that what brought you to that success in the past
it's not guaranteed to take you forward.
Absolutely, because it was a different era.
Different era.
The world is
and again, the demands of the world, like I keep saying to people, the society, the world are demanding different skills today. They're demanding people to show up differently. And we used to talk many years about soft skills being just, it's just additional skills. There's nothing soft about soft skills because those skills are hard to impart in people.
Absolutely.
Technical skills are easy to train. I always say soft skills are very easy, are very difficult to measure, and they're very difficult to train. Whereas you just spoke about finance skills. Financial skills, it's very easy to train and it's very easy to measure. You either can run a spreadsheet or you cannot. But soft skills are very difficult. So I would like to believe that if we can focus on soft skills and building people around those human skills, creative skills, communication skills, public speaking skills, the rest is easy because technical skills they can pick up. And so those kinds of things, I just think that our universities, our schools do not focus much on those people skills. Because remember, it doesn't matter who you are or what qualification you have. Ultimately, you work in society. You work with other humans. Yes, we've got machines, but most we work with other humans. If you don't have skills to work with other people, you're going to perish. And very quickly, you're going to, it doesn't matter how good you are in that field, if you can't work with others, we can't work with other people, very soon you'll be overlooked.
Wow, that's really great. And it's something that I agree with, and it's something that I advocate for when it comes to soft skills, There's a quote, I don't remember exactly who said it, but he said, hire character, train skills.
Yes.
Something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm sure because you work with a lot of statistics, I don't know if you can speak to how much the statistics really are in that regard, but most people that usually get fired, they don't fire for lack of technical skills. They're usually fired for lack of people skills. For lack
of people skills, yes. Yeah, it's something that we teach as consultants, as business advisors, as lecturers, that hire for character, hire for attitude, and hire for culture fit, as opposed to, because you can easily train this stuff. But, and again, like I said earlier, it's difficult to identify if that fit is there over an interview, over a coffee, or over a chat. You almost have to monitor a person over a period of time, extended period of time, to understand the content of their character. I was saying to my students last week, Google and Spotify would follow someone for months on social media before they decide they want to hire them, because they know the technical skills are an easy box to tick, but the content of that person's character, and you can't change. And if that character attitude is not aligned with your culture, you can do nothing about it. It's difficult to tell someone, Nikki, please change your attitude. It doesn't work. Because Nikki doesn't even know what attitude they have. It's just who they are. It's just who they are, and it's how they show up. It's how they express themselves. But you can't tell people to change their attitude. You just have to choose. Can I live with this attitude?
Person? Yes.
Can I live with Nikki bearing this attitude or not? And make it your choice. But you can't force or change Nikki to change. You can say, Nikki, I need you to acquire this skill. But attitude is not a skill. It's not. It's just a makeup. It's just part of a makeup of a person. I always say to my students, do you guys choose your attitude, or is it just who you are? And in many cases, they will say, it's just who I am. And sometimes I don't even know what attitude I have and how to define it.
It depends on the occasion.
It's just how I show up. Yes, moods can change because there are so many things that can modify your mood. If you see an accident along the highway, it will modify your mood, even if you are in good spirits. So mood modification depends on many external factors. But attitude comes from within. It comes from within, and in most cases, it's based on who you are as a person.
To digress a little bit, maybe not necessarily digressing, but it sounds almost like there is no way a person can change.
Of course you can change. But of course. I mean, attitude changes when the person changes. Remember that.
Okay, so it's not like a stone.
No. You can't say, well, I'd like to change my attitude, but the core of the person doesn't change. So as you get exposed to new things, you learn new information, you get exposed to different networks, you work with different people, you learn new skills. Of course, that will shape how you carry yourself in society within the people that you work with. But it starts with the person changing first. So that's why externally it's difficult to say change your attitude. The attitude is almost the surface of who the person is. It demonstrates
at that point in time.
Who the person is. But of course, people learn. They learn new things. They evolve.
Certain ideas they were holding so strongly.
Exactly. And sometimes it takes long for that attitude to change. So that's why you need to check yourself. Find a way, not through a formal interview process, to find out what makes up this individual.
This person,
Will that makeup make them fit within our enterprise, within our environment, within our culture system. Of course, there is not always a perfect match. But and again, to your earlier question, can we handle Nikki's attitude within this company, considering what the organizational personality is. Sometimes you say, I think she will adjust, or we can handle it. But outright, certain individuals are just a no-go.
I know.
You can just see at the face of it, this individual has got the right skill, But unfortunately, they can't work in this environment. And it's not their fault. But as recruiters, as leaders, sometimes we are not honest enough to give that feedback to the individual, to say, this is the reason we haven't hired you, or we did not hire you. I was telling my students 2 weeks ago, ask for feedback, whether you pass the interview or you are not successful. Ask for feedback because it's going to build you for the next one. And it's going to build you as a person. Just ask. There's no legislation or law in this country that says you are not entitled to an interview feedback. But you have to ask for it because the organization will not volunteer it free of charge without you asking for it. Just ask, oh, thanks for giving me the letter feedback. I do understand I was not successful. Would you just guide me of what I could have done better or differently to be successful?
Absolutely.
And which company in the world would not give you that feedback? Because it's going to be authentic, it's truthful, it's real insights, it's real data. Just ask. Yes, there was 5 of you on the interview panel. Can 1 or 2 of you just spend 30 minutes with me, just giving me feedback and be honest? But we don't ask for it. And we make the same mistakes at the next interview.
This took me back. My days in the corporate world. Reminded me of, I was short-lived in the corporate world. It wasn't for so long, but I remember when I was searching for a job, right? And every interview that I went to, I asked for feedback. I didn't even know I was doing the right thing. Right. There were some that were completely ignored. They wouldn't respond back. But I got a few, and as you were sharing that, one stood out where where they told me that I was actually a good fit. For what they were looking for. That they felt like what they are offering in terms of money was not going to keep me long enough.
Wasn't going to keep me long.
I was like, even half of I needed money so bad.
At least I could have asked.
That's something I completely forgot. And it just came to mind as you were sharing. And I would have gone home crying that.
And you were desperate at the time.
So desperate for that job. They told me. We felt like what we were offering. You were really so good, but we felt like what we were offering, we're just going to lose you in a few months. It wouldn't make you stay.
Okay.
It's like, wow, why couldn't you have told me?
They could have just been open with you.
Exactly, and I didn't really care. Honestly, I did not care. So how many people really go back home thinking that we're not qualified? Meanwhile, in the eyes of the employer, they were like, felt like
overqualified.
That's crazy.
I think it goes both ways. I think sometimes the organizations can say, listen, we want to consider you, but here's the deal. Is it something that you would consider?
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, if you do enter our company, what would make you stay? And just ask. What would make you stay? Is it the money? Is it the environment? Is it the promotion? If you started with us today, what would make you stay?
Because people are motivated by different things.
Different things.
I wasn't motivated by money at the time.
Career paths, others working environment, others a name on the parking lot. Others benefits to study, others opportunities to travel. And I keep saying this to my students, motivation for different people, for different people is very, very different.
Absolutely.
But your job as the manager, leader in that company is to have a very good understanding of what motivates Vicky to continue to wake up and come here.
Absolutely.
What is a deal breaker for her? What would cause her to bring everything to a halt? But if you have got no clue or what makes people want to come to you, you're probably playing guesswork.
Absolutely.
And you're just assuming it's going to work.
And for them, they assumed that my motivation was money. And it wasn't.
And it was not.
I wanted an opportunity to just show people what I was capable of doing, right? And at the time, they had to, but they didn't. They made the decision for me. But anyway, now I'm learning, as I go, that these things are actually important for the communication to happen both ways on why we don't think you're a good fit or anything of that nature. As we're closing, I would like to find out, there are so many different schools of thought out there when it comes to technology and the impact it has in the workplace, right? There's one school of thought that technology is going to destroy so many jobs. For example, when artificial intelligence is going to take away so many jobs, right? And then there's one school of thought that believes that technology is going to create more jobs than it destroys.
Yeah.
Okay. I have my own school of thought around that, but I'm interested to know, which school of thought do you belong to?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Technology does destroy jobs, and it destroys those jobs that do repetitive, mundane, administrative tasks.
Right.
Things that are easy to program on a computer and get it done. But those skills that require creativity, human touch, innovation, that require people to continue to think, are never gonna disappear because of machines. I always see machines as co-workers or talent, because machines are just augment what we do as humans. It's just that humans are wired differently. If humans can do more work that requires human touch, and we shouldn't be scared about machines. Also, machines help us focus on things that require intuition. Creativity, intuition, and empathy, and those kinds of things. The stuff that's boring, that's repetitive, that's mundane, that is predictive, machines can handle. I also think that machines are creating opportunities for different skills, for creating new jobs and new opportunities to learn different things. We were just talking about predictive AI or the other day, that if you see AI or machine learning as a co-pilot, you wouldn't be threatened by machines. You'll just find those skills to work hand in glove with those machines. But yeah, if you are a semi-skilled worker or unskilled worker, and you do very much repetitive tasks that can be programmed into an algorithm, into a machine, you probably should be worried. Because a machine can take over that job. But if you do work that requires creativity, thinking, intuition, working with people, and doing stuff outside of repetitive tasks, you shouldn't be threatened.
I feel I sort of have a different perspective around that. You know, because I feel that era where machines were going only for mundane tasks, I think we've moved past that era, right? Machines now can tell you your heart rate, for example. I don't think that's mundane.
That's mundane.
Machines now can write a marketing campaign that feels like a human being wrote it. You know, speaking of ChatGPT, for example, machines now can perform surgical operations. In hospitals. That's not mundane. That's something that requires some sort of critical but they're being programmed to do.
But they're programmed by human beings.
Programmed by human beings. So I do feel that, like I said, each and every one of us, we have a different perspective on looking at these things. But I feel that technology is evolving so fast that we are slowly getting into that era where there is almost nothing a machine will be able to do. Creativity, we've seen it on ChatGPT. There are things, now I'm training it to write like me. So that I can give it some certain prompts, write in the style of Nikki Verd. And then I can copy, for example, like an article I wrote on my website that had no input from.
That style.
So it goes with that. So it's even like, wow. I love this. So machines are getting to that level of this is beyond mundane. We are passing that. Nonetheless, I also still feel that the humans that will be able to make it in the world we're living are those who know how to interact with AI systems, how to talk to AI systems, and all of these language models. For those who are still watching from the sidelines, I feel that's really where the problem is. And the competition, like I said to some people, the competition is not really humans versus machines. It's going to be more of humans with machines.
With machines. It's about the integration.
Against humans without machines.
I think that's the way. That's the road of travel. If you can't interact or work with machines, your skills are going to become obsolete.
Absolutely.
And you're going to become irrelevant. You're going to be left behind.
I believe
and then
that.
You'll play catch up all the time.
I believe those who are not using ChatGPT are already obsolete in some way.
In a way.
So there's so much that I still want to talk about, but I feel that probably we'll have another session.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for coming and for sharing your thoughts with us. It's always amazing, having to talk to you. So thank you for coming. Any last words for